champion is clad in big orange.
The pitch. Swing into this. That's the ball game. The national champion is clad in big orange.
Summit and Destiny have met 7 times before. Tonight is number 8.
Tennessee Volunteers have wrapped up an SEC outright regular season title.
The SEC runs through Rocky Top. Tennessee wins the SEC regular season crown for the 2nd consecutive season.
The 1-0. In the air, right center field. Bronx on the move. Won't get there. Tennessee walks it off. This is a mismatch. Deep three. Come on now. And don't connect. Probably Draghi this time. Indeed. And New Hampshire. Down the middle. Got it on the fly. It's high and again. And he's going to take it. Touchdown, Tennessee.
How much fun is this?
Man, Rocky Top, college football at its absolute best.
Man, this is college athletics at its absolute best, man. Welcome in to another episode of the Vol Fanatic Show. I'm Michael with my co-host Skyler. Skyler, how we doing, man? After just a bye week, we got to sit back and just watch chaos ensue once again.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a little bit more chaos, dude. Honestly, having a good day, having a great weekend, obviously. It seems like the teams handled the bye week, at least so far, a lot better than maybe they did earlier in the season. But I guess my review of this last weekend is, where was the chaos? Now, I know you can come at me and say, I mean, look, LSU went down to A&M. Maybe you could call that chaos, but I seen that one coming. I mean, you got 2 teams that were pretty much even, tied at the top of the SEC. And at that point, you kind of have to tilt toward home field advantage, and that's exactly what we've seen. But, yeah, I mean, for a bye week, honestly, this was a very boring bye week. I was really hoping for some more chaos. Michael, how are we doing?
Doing good, man. I mean, you always enjoy a bye week because you get to sit back, you get to just enjoy football without worrying about, are we actually going to pull this out this week? Is the offense going to show up? Is the defense going to save us again? So really enjoyed the bye week, man. But we're excited to have some football, some meaningful Tennessee football come back on again this weekend. But guys, we have got a loaded show for you again today. Still going to try to make it brief. We're going to give our position grades again. Now we are 2/3 of the way through the season. We're going to give a little Kentucky preview, do our picks. Jake is going to join us again at the end for his Ranking with Jake picks. And at some point during this episode, we've got a big announcement to make, guys.
Oh, yeah. And real quick, just want to thank Sean Carpenter on Facebook for sharing the show. And Justin, as always, liked the show. He is tuned in. He waves at us. He said, what's up, guys? But, yeah, we got a couple folks on the YouTube, a couple folks on the Facebook. Y'all do us a favor. We just started, so share the show. Let's bring some people in, and let's talk some ball here on this fantastic Sunday. Last Sunday of October.
Yeah, and apologies, guys. We did have some technical difficulties with the first live, so I had to scramble real quick, redo another one. So that's why the original one is not showing up. But, Skyler, you want to get right into this and give the folks our show sponsor?
Sure can, and our presenting show sponsor is Chris Smith Insurance. As a homeowner, Chris was once let down by an insurance company. So he started his own agency where instead of feeling like a big company is fighting against you, you'll know that your agent is fighting for you. All insurance is not equal, guys. Reach out to Chris Smith Insurance at 865-272-3387. He is an agent. He is the man of the people, obviously. Any insurance is great when you don't have to use it, right? As long as it's got a decent price on it. But Chris is one of those guys where if things were to go wrong in your home, he's the kind of guy that is going to show up at your front door and help you along the way throughout the whole claims process. And I don't know about you guys, but that's the kind of guy I want. Not somebody at the end of an 800 number, but somebody that's actually I can call, I can text, and know that he is just a man of the people. We thank you, Chris, for your continued support of the channel. And I think we had a couple of comments here on the YouTube. We do. Jeremiah dude, thank you so much for watching. Said, hey guys, the Hogs showed up. We scored more than any team has on Mississippi State. I mean, yeah, if you want to just kind of beat a dead horse, that is Mississippi State. I mean, congratulations. Quarterback did have a great game. It had an insane juke move. Great game. I mean, I'm not taking anything away. But, yeah, I mean, Mississippi State, I mean, we'll get our turn here coming up in a couple of weeks. So, hats off to the Hogs. I mean, think about the Hogs and where we thought they were at the beginning of the year.
Well, I was going to say absolute credit to the Hogs. I was not high on them at all this year. I just felt like that it was going to be a downhill year. And, I mean, Sam Pittman's job, in my opinion, has been saved at this point. He's coming back for another season now.
Sure.
So, no, a great comeback year for the Hogs this year. But without further ado, let's get into all this. Our segment one sponsor, as always, it is Optimal Asbestos Services, your trusted environmental consulting firm in Knoxville, Tennessee. State licensed and insured. We specialize in asbestos air quality management for commercial buildings and homes. You can contact Jeff Mole at 865-223-3297 or on the web at optimalasbestosservices.com. So, we gave our first position grades of the year a few weeks ago during the bye week, and we're going to do it again this week. So, this is not necessarily just over the last couple of weeks. This is the entire season to this point. And let's just start from the top like we did last time. Let's start with Nico. Start with the quarterback position. How do you think Nico has done so far this year, Skyler?
Yeah, B-. B-. Not going to go C+. Not really going to go B. Obviously, some things to work on. Seeing a lot of overthrows, but that's just it. A lot of overthrows. He has thrown a couple of bad interceptions, but he's young, and I understand that. And I'll sacrifice a couple of INTs as long as we're growing at the position. I feel like he is. I feel like the second half against Bama, very underrated how good we played. I know it gets overshadowed by how bad that first half was. I challenge you guys as Tennessee fans, go back, watch just the second half of that game with an open mind. Guys, we played some really good football in that second half. Of course, wide receivers made some drops. We'll talk about that here in a second. But give Nico a B- throughout the entire body of work. Obviously, that Arkansas game is what's really keeping that down low. Did not have a great game at Arkansas, but overall, B- for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a B for it. I'm gonna go just a tad bit higher than you. He's just had a lot of really young mistakes going on to start the season. But, you know, it's also the high expectations that Vols fans had for him going into the year that it was going to be hard for him to live up to those, even being a five-star quarterback. I agree with you that second half, that was a different Nico. I felt like he just needed to get hit one good time and to really kind of loosen some things up for him. And I think now that has happened, we're going to see a little bit different Nico coming out. But we'll see what he looks like during this Kentucky game. I'm going to go with a B. I have seen some improvement, but still a lot left to work on.
The reason why I can't go higher than a B-, I mean, the dude hasn't thrown for 200 yards since NC State.
That's fair. That's very fair.
And NC State, he only played 3 quarters, and he threw for 314 against Chattanooga, where he only played for 2 quarters. I mean, the chances that Nico's had in 4 quarters of work, and the closest he got was against Alabama and Oklahoma, where he threw for 194 in both of those games. Just want to see that offense open up a little bit and see our wide receiver. We got some great wide receivers, just not getting a chance. Some of them obviously are hurting themselves. Squirrel's playing through some pain that I think cost him a big catch because he's basically playing the position one-armed. But overall, yeah, I mean, Nico not having a 200-yard game in SEC play up to this point is a little bit shocking. But overall, I think he'll overcome it this week against Kentucky.
Yeah, that is absolutely fair. Next position group, running backs. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it.
A+.
Dylan Sampson.
Best in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
best in the nation.
Second best in the nation.
Best in the, don't be that guy. Ashton Jeanty literally didn't have a single rushing touchdown against whoever they played last week. Look, you give Dylan Sampson the same schedule he's facing, I'll just leave it at that. Dylan Sampson, I've always stood by. If you're the best in the SEC, you're the best in the league. That's all I got to say about that.
That's fair. But I mean, it's absolutely an A+ though. And even Deshaun Bishop behind him, he hadn't had to do as much here lately because it's been Dylan Sampson. But Deshaun Bishop is also a very good backup. So it's been an A+ for that group. Wide receivers. What do you think about wide receivers? I'll let you go first on this one.
Hot take, a C. A C.
A C.
A C. Yes, a C, senor. Just not a lot of 100-yard receivers in any games, which that's not necessarily all their fault. But that Alabama game, I think, was glaring in the fact that even when they had chances, had opportunities, they hurt themselves, didn't make catches. Brew had a very easy drop as a slant touchdown. Squirrel, obviously, big drop. Chaz Nimrod's made several drops. I'm not sure why. I love Chaz Nimrod a lot. I think he's a good kid. I think he's going to be great. But at some point, man, I mean, you've had like 5 drops the last 2 games. Let's see what somebody else has got. Throw in Caleb Webb. Throw in Mike Matthews, by God. Like, I don't know. We just got a lot of talent in that room. Can't be making as many mistakes as we're making. I'm giving them a C. I think the route running is very good. But just, I don't know. Hot take. It's a C, man. Too many drops.
So I'm going to go the opposite direction on it a little bit. I'm going to go with a B because, yes, you have had those drops. You've had some catches you absolutely should have made, but also you've been getting open. You've been getting your separation. The ball just hadn't quite been there in some instances, and that's been Nico overthrowing guys. Sometimes it's been the offensive line protection has been breaking down, so Nico's having to get it out of there sooner than he wants. But because of getting that separation, being able or the scheme opening things up for the wide receivers, but the wide receivers just getting that separation that they need. I'm going to go just a tad bit higher than that C, but you are 100% correct. There is absolutely plays that should be made at times that just haven't been made because of drops and other scenarios. So the fact that you're able to get that separation a lot of times is what I think is going to put me to that B status instead of giving them that C like what you have.
Yeah. Real quick, got some folks in the YouTube. Tennessee Football 247 says, my Titans suck. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I stopped caring about Titans organization a long time ago when their organization was making some stupid, worse than Jerry Jones. It's terrible. It's dumb. Then you choose Will Levis, which is just a backbreaker and the whole deal. Then you get rid of Derrick Henry. You get rid of the sheriff in town who was your best defensive back. Just every move they were making. You get rid of A.J. Brown. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. That Titan, whatever. Whatever they've got going, however bad they're losing, they deserve it 100%. So Jeremiah says, I came back to say A&M, the only unbeaten team in SEC play, only beat Mississippi State by 10. Same as Georgia and Texas. It was almost a 3-point game at halftime. Sure. Look, the SEC this year, one thing you can say about it is game to game, you can't really take like one result and apply it to the next game. Look at what Tennessee did. We lost to Arkansas 2 games later. We beat Alabama by 7. Welcome to the SEC. It's part of it, and there's still a long way to go. I'm not taking anything away from what Arkansas has done, but it's Mississippi State. They're 1-6 or something for a reason. It is what it is. Let's see. Facebook. Misty tunes in, says, hey, how we doing? Also like the show. Karen's like the show. Thank you so much. We're going to keep on rolling. Again, if you're here, make sure we're sharing the show, liking the show. We hit over 400 followers on Facebook. That's a big deal. Thank you so much to you guys. And we're hoping to continue to grow. Dino, I believe, is watching as well. Thank you, Dino. But yeah, position grades. We just wrapped up the wide receiver room. Which direction you want to go next?
Let's go tight ends, and I will go first on the tight ends. I'm going to drop them to a B. Not necessarily because of what they've done, but they've been just kind of a non-factor, especially in the passing game lately. Now, running game, they're still doing their job, blocking and all that. But they've been a non-factor in the passing game here lately, whether that be just Nico not getting it to them or the plays not being quite drawn up for them. Either way, all 3 guys, Kitselman, Stays, and Ethan Davis, they've been just a non-factor in the passing game, so that's why I'm going to keep them at a B. But I do expect them to start getting some more touches here down the stretch, especially if we see the Nico that we think we will down the stretch after the improvements in the second half against Alabama.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's a B. They just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. I mean, after 2 or 3 games, you thought that tight end was a focal point of this office. And since then, really not so much. I mean, Kitzelman has 6 receptions on the year for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Holden Stays, 9 receptions. Ethan Davis, 9 receptions. Both of them, I mean, basically mirror each other, 65 and 64 yards respectively on the year. Both have 1 touchdown. It's kind of alarming how heavy we used them in the first 3 weeks, and how once SEC play started, it's kind of been more of a 12 personnel, which means you have 2 tight ends out there at once, but it's more for running, not necessarily passing. I think some of that's to blame on the defenses that we're facing now. These 3 down fronts, you kind of load up in 12 personnel, run the ball a lot. And that's kind of what we've been facing. Every now and again, you get that 4 down front, and you can actually run the offense the way you want to run it. But, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Tight ends is a B for me. Just been a complete non-factor in the passing game. However, running game, I do feel like they do pretty well.
Yes, totally agree. So last one on the offensive side of the ball, it is offensive line. What say you about the offensive line?
That one's tough because last week, man, they looked really good, honestly.
Yep. But remember, we're taking the entire
entire
first part.
I'm gonna stay with a B. I'm gonna stay with a B. The tackles scare me still for this. Too many false starts. Too many missed assignments. Got to protect Nico, especially on that blind side. And I still feel like sometimes we struggle with that. Too many sacks. I'll just leave it at that. Too many sacks. But overall, rush offense, the rush blocking, very solid. And they communicated it well, I think, against Alabama. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come down the road.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with a B. I'm going to go with a B on that one. As you said, the run blocking has been fantastic for the most part. Save for the Arkansas game, all but 2 drives didn't look too good. But the other games, they've looked pretty solid. Pass blocking has been very hit or miss. You mentioned Alabama. They looked very good for pretty much the entirety of the game. But other games, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, hadn't looked too good a lot of times. I mean, Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins, and for the most part, Andre Carrick has looked pretty good on the interior. But you said it, the tackles, John Campbell Jr. and Lance Hurd have been very shaky overall. But let's see how they look going down the stretch here, because like you said, the Alabama game, they looked a whole lot better than they have in previous games.
Sure.
So before we move to the defensive side of the ball, offense as a whole, grade.
As a whole?
Yes.
I'm not taking the average of my grades. It's a C. Hard C. You're too reliant on the run game, which, albeit we have a great run game, but, I mean, you've scored in SEC play, you've averaged 23 points a game. That's just not good. Got to be better than that, especially when you got the best defense in the country, in my opinion. That is with the orange glasses on, because I know they're not the best defense in the country. But by God, in 7 games, you haven't given up 20 points in a single game. And you played some pretty stiff competition in that. I mean, Florida's looking to be a decent team, which we kind of knew they were. I knew they were a decent team. They just got terrible head coach. But that's a dynamic, athletic team. Arkansas, you see what they're doing. Oklahoma, I don't feel like Jackson Arnold should have ever been benched, and they kind of pushed Ole Miss to the brink yesterday. It's just got to be better. Got to be better on offense, and I think we will. This second half, I guess, of the season, if you want to call it that, but really it's only 5 games left. I think you're going to see our offense come together in a big way, and we're going to need it, especially for that big road game against Georgia and Vanderbilt. Really can't overlook them.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is so I'm going to go with a C+, just because of how good the running game has been. But you mentioned it. You've been too reliant on that running game. The passing game has got to get going. The pass blocking has got to be better. But I am going to give it that extra little jump over the C because of how good that running game has been, how good Dylan Sampson has been this year. So a C+ for me overall on the offense. Defensive side of the ball, just start with the defensive line. Defensive line is an A+. I mean, James Pierce Jr., teams have realized that you cannot double him because it leaves somebody else unblocked. And this defensive line group as a whole is too good to not block everybody. So, yes, that means you're going to go one-on-one against James Pierce Jr., but I would rather take my chances going one-on-one and maybe being able to stop him than doubling him and leaving somebody else open. But James Pierce has just absolutely ate over the last couple of games because of that. And with the emergence of him, along with everybody else still doing their thing, it is absolutely an A+ on the season.
I mean, James Pierce Jr., don't get me wrong, he's the hot name, but it's way more than him. It's way more than him. Joshua Josephs has 23 total tackles on the year so far. James Pierce Jr. right up there at 22. You've got Dominic Bailey, who's come on so strong this year. Bryson Eason as well. Tyree West has been an absolute dog. Omar Norman-Lott has double-digit tackles on the year. Jackson Moy right there with him at 11 tackles. Amari Thomas has honestly kind of been quiet considering how big of a leader he is. And then David Hobbs, a guy that's kind of been getting some playing time this year, and he's a 4-star prospect, I think, in his sophomore year, maybe redshirt freshman. I can't remember if he redshirted last year. I would think he would have. But he's coming on. Elijah Simmons, Kellen Lindstrom. Jason Jenkins is a guy who kind of had a day at Oklahoma where he came in, was like 4-string and got 2 back-to-back tackles for loss. Jordan Ross, and Carson Gentle. I mean, just a bunch of dudes. Didn't even talk about Caleb Herring. Just a lot of defensive linemen. I mean, it's got to be something that an opposing offensive coordinator hates to see, like every 3 freaking plays, and we're rolling out 3 or 4 more dudes out there. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see. Rodney Garner's worked so hard to get this defensive line to that point, and now to see it there. I think, seriously, if defense truly wins championships, Tennessee's going to have a chance to win one because of this defensive line.
Yep, I completely agree with you. And by the way, guys, if you see me kind of looking over to my left if you've got a second screen and you've got ESPN Plus, Tennessee basketball is on right now with they're playing their charity exhibition game against Indiana right now. Indiana is up 14-9 at the moment. We're seeing just a lot of rotations, a lot of these new guys. And I'm not going to go into details because I know this is football season. Skyler, he's already given me that look about I don't want to hear about basketball, but Felix Okpara is a dude, man. That's all I'm going to say. So linebackers, linebacker group, I'm still going to give an A. I thought about giving him an A+, but you lost your leader in Keenan Pili for the entire season, torn ACL. But Jeremiah Telander stepping up the way that he did, and Arion Carter just filling the shoes of that leader that Keenan Pili is, along with Caleb Perry? Yeah, along with him coming in as well. That rotation right there, they just fly all over the place, man. But they kind of get overshadowed because of how well the defensive line plays, and with we'll get to this in a second, but with how good that secondary has looked this year, they get overshadowed some, but they're just doing their job, man.
Yeah, and Jalen Smith has kind of come on strong too. Is that kind of like fourth?
Yeah.
He actually has more total tackles than Caleb Perry does, albeit by only 2 more. He's got 14 total, but still, Jalen Smith has been a big time. I mean, you got Arion Carter, Jeremiah Telander, and then your twos, no doubt about it, is Jalen Smith and Caleb Perry. Both those guys just in a big way stepping up when we really need them, because at this point we're really only 2 deep at that position. So yeah, it's been great to see them step up when called upon. And linebackers, I'm actually going to go A- here. I still think, as well as they've stepped up in big times, I still feel like communication's a little bit of an issue there, because Pili was your leader. He was your guy with the communications and the helmet, able to get people in the right position. And we've seen, especially in the Arkansas game, even when Pili was healthy, a bunch of our guys were confused, didn't know what to do, a lot of missed assignments. I want to see that get cleaned up. It has been since then. I want to see it continue. So that for that reason alone, I mean, you had Arion Carter loved the kid a lot, but he just didn't know when to not to cover the flat, cover the running back, whatever. I want to see, and there was more than him. I hate to just kind of dog on him, but just want to see that continue to grow. And for that reason, I just can't go with an A. I mean, I'm gonna stick with an A- here. They sure tackle. I mean, anytime somebody gets to the second level, they are not missing that tackle. I love to see that. But A- is where I'm comfortable going with that.
That's fair, man. Secondary. For me, A+, dude. A+. They
A+, but yes, they're pretty good.
Look, I said it earlier this year. I went A+ earlier.
I feel like you're going A+ because of one guy, and I can't agree with that.
No, it's because of the whole lot. I mean, I said earlier this year A+ because they exceeded my expectations, but I still said that they had yet to be proven. They had yet to play a team that I felt like they could prove how good they were. I felt like they did that against Alabama, especially. Florida, yeah, they did good against them, but Alabama was a team where I said this is where they're going to get tested the most. And, I mean, I can't go without saying that Jermon McCoy is an absolute dude, and he completely shut down Ryan Williams. But also, Ricky Gibson, man, he looks good. Will Brooks, man, the former walk-on, he's an absolute dude back there. I mean, he made – I think it was Jake mentioned it last week. Went back and looked at it. He had, 5 touchdown-saving tackles in that game?
Yeah. The biggest play of the game, in my opinion, was a 4th and 1 or whatever. And
the QB sneak.
And Jalen Milroe kind of scooted off to the side and had a gaping hole in which Will Brooks really just shoestring tackled him. If it wasn't for that, he was absolutely gone. And who knows how that game plays out after that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with an A+. I feel like that they are proven. I mean, there's a lot of room for them to for that grade to go down some over these last couple of games, but I feel like our secondary is proven now.
All right, I'm going to stick with an A here. Can't go A+. Top 10 tackles. Can you give me a guess on how many defensive backs are in the top 10 in total team tackles?
Well, I know Will Brooks is number 1.
He is.
I would say you
don't have to name them. I'm just asking you, how many defensive backs do you think are in the top 10 of defensive team tackles?
I'm going to say 5.
You're spot on the money. Will Brooks, number 1. Gerard McCoy, number 4. Andre Turrentine at 6. And then you've got Boo Carter and Jacoby Thomas at 9 and 10. I mean, defensive backs have really, really held their own tackling in space. I'll tell you what, Boo Carter's had to play a lot in his true freshman year, and he stepped up to the plate in a big way. You've kind of seen the growing pains, but I think it's going to work out. Jacoby Thomas is a great corner, especially downhill in the run game. But Gerard McCoy, no doubt about it, one of the best defensive backs, one of the best cornerbacks I've seen play in that orange uniform in quite some time. Will Brooks, just a guy out of nowhere, really holding it down. He's got 19 solo tackles and 37 total tackles. The dude's just a tackling machine. Obviously got 2 interceptions as well, one with a pick 6 against NC State. Yeah, defensive back room looking really good, and where there was a lot of question marks in the offseason on this group.
Yep. So defense overall.
Yeah, I don't see how. I'm going completely against EA college football, giving them like a freaking 78 overall. This is an absolute 95 overall defense. Give me an A. I'm going to stick with A. I'm not going A+.
Yeah, I think overall grade, it is an A as well. I mean, they've been unbelievable this year. I mean, I'm almost at a loss for words just because of how good they are this year. I mean, you haven't given up 20 points in a game yet this year. That's incredible. And this is a team that just 2 years ago were giving up 20
points.
I mean, you gave up 49 to Alabama 2 years ago. You gave up who knows how many to Georgia. I mean, you had to win games by shootouts just to be able to beat teams. And now it's completely flipped. Your defense is winning games for you.
Oh, yeah. Defense and special teams. Special teams has been crazy good as well.
Other
than Florida, they've been really good.
Yeah, so, I mean, the last one we got, special teams. What's your grade on that?
I'm going to stick with an A just because they did have the one bad game against Florida. I don't know why. I mean, Florida had 2 massive returns, which I guess we were punting them too much on a line drive there for a little bit. But he got out of his own way, started kicking the ball really well again against Alabama, and which I think helped us a lot. I mean, there was a time in that game against Alabama where we took a delay of game because we were at like the 45, Alabama's 45, and then the whole crowd just got super pissed off. Like, why are you taking that type of delay of game? Well, honestly, in a weird way, you kind of want a little bit more cushion so that your punter can punt like a golf swing. You want to swing a full swing with whatever club you're using, right? So for the punter, he wanted to be able to kick his full strength so he didn't have to guess or try to critique how to punt the ball. And what do you know? You down the ball at the 3-yard line after that penalty, and it worked to perfection. Then you get a 3 and out and get the ball back pretty much at the same spot of the field, and then you go down and score a touchdown. I mean, that is perfect complementary football right there, where your offense and your special teams trust your defense to get a stop right there, and then your offense goes and seals the deal. And that was perfect. That was a great play, and that's why I'm putting the special teams at an A. Can't go A+ here because they did have one really poor game against Florida. But overall, special teams has been awesome. Your field goal kicker, anything inside of 50 yards, 100% still. He did miss a couple against Bama, but they were both 53, 54 yarders. Or 50 plus at least. So yeah, I'm sticking with an A here on the special teams.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go A-, because, like you said, the special teams giving up some punt return yards. You mentioned because more line drive punts than the normal Jackson Ross that we're seeing, but he fixed that against Alabama. And you also said it, the kicker, he is still perfect inside of 50, which is huge. I mean, it's Eric Ainge all the time. He says, as long as you make it from 40 in, I'm completely fine with that. But so far he has missed all of his that are beyond 50 yards. You'd like to see one of those go in.
He's very close. I mean, it's not a lack of a leg. It's not a lack of talent. It's just, man, he's pushing it one way or the other just by feet. I mean,
yeah, and it's not like they've missed by much. Like you said, he's got plenty of leg. But I am going to slightly ding the special teams just because of, you'd like to see him 1 for 3 on the year from 50 plus, then 0 for 3, and then, like you said, the punt return yards that you gave up against Florida due to the more line drive kicks. Just, I mean, it's little things. Just, I mean, we're critiquing at that point. Honestly, I should have it as an A instead of an A-. I'm just critiquing at this point because it's been so good on the season so far. I mean, look at Josh Turbeville on the kickoffs. He's still kicking just about every single one of them through the end zone. I mean, there's not much to talk bad about the special teams with. So, last one, overall team grade, offense, defense, special teams.
B+.
Yep, I agree with you. B+.
B+. I mean, you're tied for first place, basically. Tied for first. No, technically you're not. You're tied for second place in the SEC right now. A&M with a big win is still in sole possession of first place. I mean, it's all you can ask for. You're in the hunt. That's what we want to be. As a Tennessee fan, it was like, what do you want as a fan? And that's to be in the conversation. We are in the conversation. So a B+ overall grade for Tennessee right now. You're sitting 6-1 going into Kentucky, in which we may do dark mode. I think somebody in the YouTube, Tennessee Football 247 says, man, I really hope we wear those dark uniforms. And I think that's why you're wearing that dark jersey right there, is because you have a good feeling that we will be. If we don't wear them this week, it will definitely be against Mississippi State for sure the following week. But I would assume with it being Halloween this week, we would absolutely wear the dark uniforms on Saturday.
B+ for me as well for all the reasons that you just said. But I kind of want to go ahead and get to talking about Kentucky, and I'll give you the reason why I think that this Saturday is the dark mode game. But do you want to give us our segment 2 sponsor?
You dang right I do, and it is P&L Business Services. We know firsthand that getting your monthly reporting, invoicing, bill pay, taxes, and other essential business services right is critical. That's why at P&L Business Services, we go beyond bookkeeping by providing you with everything you need in your back office so you can have your time back and the peace of mind to do what you love most, which is building your business. Behind every successful business is a great bookkeeper. Guys, reach out to P&L Business Services. It's simple as PNLBusinessServices.com. I don't even think you have to put the www in it anymore, thanks to Google. So, Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. And as we continue to grow, we're going to talk some Kentucky right here. Kentucky Hate Week. We had a good time with these fans in the offseason and all the trash talk they had coming into this game. I can promise you they are quiet right now. Probably even want to fire their head coach right now, as they are, I think, 1-5 in the SEC, in which they beat Ole Miss. Like, that doesn't make no sense. Kentucky's a confusing team. We're going to talk about it. But I can promise you the tone for Kentucky fans quickly changed after the South Carolina loss, which has now turned into a lot more after that. So how do you want to start this one?
So let me give my reason first why I believe this is going to be the dark mode game. And I said this when we did our Tennessee predictions at the beginning of the season. This game, of course, it's a night game, first of all. You mentioned it's Halloween. At the time, we found out that the Florida game was a checker kneeling game. Alabama, you're not going to wear dark mode against them. You're going to wear your traditional uniforms against Alabama each and every year. Mississippi State is homecoming. More than likely, you're going to wear traditional uniforms for that game as well.
Pat Summitt game.
Oh, that's also the Pat Summitt game too.
Could be. Yeah, where they wear the Summit blue like accessories.
Yeah, it's either going to be that one or it'll be the UTEP game.
UTEP will probably be the. Yeah, you're right.
And UTEP, I believe, is also like Military Appreciation Day or something like that.
Okay.
So I felt like you weren't going to wear dark mode for that one as well, and that's more than likely going to be a day game. So the only logical one was going to be Kentucky, and I also made this statement at the beginning of the year. I called my shot. Tennessee will not lose to Kentucky. They're going to beat the snot out of them because of dark mode, because of it coming after a bye week. And it's before Kentucky's bye week. And Josh Heupel just doesn't lose to Kentucky, man.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Here's where I'm going to get some hate probably, but I would love to see it. I would so love to see it. I want to go dark mode, but I want to wear the orange lids with it.
That's fair. Yeah.
I want to wear black pants, black jerseys, orange lids. I think that would be so tough. So tough. Give me all of that. And I can promise you if that happens, as much as a superstitious fan you can be, you would even like it. Like, don't even lie. Like, if they came out in those, you would be like, that's tough. Like, that's hard.
Look, just get the bad juju out of those orange helmets by wearing them for this game when you beat the crap out of Kentucky.
Pretty much a guaranteed dub. No, I'm not going to go that far, but we kind of had a conversation earlier.
I will.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had a conversation earlier. Like, Kentucky at home at night. It's already confirmed. It's going to be a blowout. It better be a blowout. I don't care how bad our offense has been looking. At the end of the day, you could rely on Dylan Sampson all day long to run down Kentucky's throat. They do have a great defensive lineman. The edge rusher, I think, is Deone Walker. I can't remember his first name. He's a really good dude. Like, don't get me wrong, he's going to cause problems. But at the end of the day, you could run around him, run right at him, in my opinion, run right at him and kind of take away his pass rushing abilities if he has to stay at home on that line. Yeah, I really like the matchup for Tennessee in this game. I like the mentality aspect of it and the fact that, I mean, our boys are going to be confident, uber confident. The only time this game is close is when we go to Lexington.
Yes.
They're not in Lexington. They're coming to Neyland. Neyland's going to be rocking because of all the allegations of crowd noise being piped in to the crowd. And I can promise you they are going to come out probably even louder for Kentucky just to kind of prove a point that is not how we do things at Tennessee. It's natural. It's 102,000 dumb, crazy fans that are going to be going dumb and crazy once again, especially if we can get off to a fast start, not have a turnover on the first possession of the game, and score quickly on Kentucky and kind of keep our foot on their throat the entire game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And also, even if Tennessee's offense doesn't do well, Kentucky has only scored over 20 points in a game twice this year. And that was first game of the year against Southern Miss. They scored 31. And then Ohio in week 4, they scored 41. Other than that, it's been South Carolina, 6. Georgia, 12. Ole Miss, 20. Vanderbilt, 13. Florida, 20. And then yesterday against Auburn, 10. There's some decent defenses in there. but they're not great defenses that Kentucky has faced so far. And then also, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say to that point, I mean, it's because Brock Vandagriff, to kind of Nico's point, not really throwing the ball too well. But here's the problem. They ain't running the ball either. Mark Stoops, Kentucky, you're supposed to be running 100 yards a game. Their highest rusher, I'm about to name it, like from the very first game against Southern Miss, their highest rusher, 59 yards. South Carolina, 70 yards. Georgia, their best game rushing, 98 yards. Ohio, Wilcox rushed for 82 yards. Ole Miss, 47 was the total highest for the rusher. Vanderbilt, 59 yards. Florida, 39 yards. Auburn, 38. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher the entire season.
Yeah.
You're expecting Brock Vandagriff to do this all on his own with an offensive line that is atrocious. Offensive line is terrible. That big blue wall that y'all talk about, Kentucky fan, like, where is it, dude? It's gone. It's forever gone. It is so bad. And, I think to that credit, Tennessee and that defensive line, I mean, I could count it up right now. They're probably going to have 5 sacks against Kentucky. I fully expect that coming up this weekend. At least 5 sacks. James Pierce Jr. may have 2 on his own.
Yeah, he very well could. And then over the last couple of games, because Kentucky is a team that prides itself on stopping the run game on the other side of the ball. The last 3 games for Kentucky against Vanderbilt, they gave up 145 yards. Against Florida, they gave up 197 yards. Against Auburn yesterday, 328 yards on the ground given up. Tennessee, Dylan Sampson, and Deshaun Bishop, and Nico needs to get involved as well in the run game some. They should absolutely eat on the ground, which will then open up the passing game. This should be a game for Tennessee where they just absolutely dominate from start to finish.
I don't want Nico to run again until Georgia. Hot take. But I agree with you. You've got to at least show it to put it on film. But I want Nico to kind of preserve his legs because we're going to need him in a big way against Georgia. You're going to have to figure out a way to bend that defense. Because, I mean, teams are figuring out you can run man against us and hope we don't beat it. And for Alabama, that was working for 3/4 of that ball game until we hit Dante Thornton on a quarterback rollout on 3rd and 6. I mean, it's just a beautiful dot. I mean, those are the type of plays that beat man coverage, and you kind of just have to gamble with that. But, yeah, defensively, Kentucky, offensively, Kentucky, just not in a good way right now. I mean, that's exactly why you're 3-5, 1-5 in the SEC. It's just not – it's not the Kentucky that we're used to seeing under Mark Stoops. I kind of had my doubts at the beginning of the year. I didn't think it would be this bad, but, man, I just did not – I don't understand it. I mean, why did I don't know. I don't want to go off on too big of a tangent here, but I just didn't understand what Kentucky fans were seeing in this team. Virtually no running game. Brock Vandagriff has been a massive bust. He'll probably still somehow go 1st or 2nd round in the draft because that's
what Kentucky quarterbacks do.
That's exactly right. And they continue to suck. Never mind. All right. Anyways, that I don't know. I mean, I just feel like this is a matchup nightmare for Kentucky. I think the fans know it. I think the players know it, and I just hope that we capitalize on it and beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and do you not feel like that Mark Stoops has got like 1 foot out the door?
Where?
Retirement.
He's not retiring. There's no shot. That dude's got a lifetime contract. I think he signed one until 2029. There's no way. I mean, Mark Stoops, what's happened to Mark Stoops is he got rewarded for mediocrity, and now he knows he's got a safe coaching job, and so he's not trying as hard. I mean, he blames it on NIL instead of his own coaching, and that's fine. I mean, what are you going to do, blame it on NIL when Vanderbilt beats you?
That's exactly what he did. That is exactly what he did. Is he blamed it on NIL. But, whenever he beat Ole Miss, there was nothing about the NIL when they beat Ole Miss. It was how good of a job that the coaches did, that the players did. But as soon as they lose, it's that NIL, man.
So here's why I'm okay with losing to Arkansas as long as we bounce back, in which we have. Has this season not been a season of you beat a team that you're really not supposed to beat, but it shocked you and you thought you were back, and then you just went downhill from there? I mean, think about Ole Miss, Kentucky. They beat Ole Miss, and they really weren't even at the top. They just beat them, and they weren't expecting to, and now look at what's happened to them since. Lost to Vanderbilt, lost to Florida, lost to Auburn. think about Alabama beating Georgia, a game that honestly you could say they expected to. They didn't. There's no shot. Georgia came in, was ready to eat. They got punched in the mouth. And what has Alabama done since then? Lost to Vanderbilt. Really close. Should have been arguably overtime against South Carolina. And then you lose to Tennessee. You did bounce back in a big way against Missouri this last weekend.
But that's a Missouri team that's not very good this year.
Oh, they're reeling. They're hurt. I mean, everything about that team. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to take it away from Alabama. I mean, they shut them down like 36 to nothing. But what I'm saying is like these teams got a big win early in the year. And then kind of just went off the rails a little bit, where Tennessee took a loss that definitely they weren't expecting. But I feel like they've handled it the right way. And to this point, honestly, Tennessee is exactly where I thought they'd be in the preseason. I just mixed up which road game they were going to lose. I thought they were going to lose to Oklahoma instead of Arkansas.
And I said that I didn't see a road loss. I saw the neutral site loss to NC State.
Sure.
That one looks bad now because of how bad NC State is, which, by the way, prayers up to Grayson McCall. In case you didn't see, he has retired from the game of football after the brutal hit that he took 2 weeks ago. He's just had a bad year overall because he got the concussion last year when he was at Coastal Carolina, which put him out for the rest of the season. Transferred to NC State, didn't have a good start to the year there. Then gets just I think he got like completely knocked out cold on the field. His helmet came off and everything on the play, and he just decided to retire from the game of football after that.
There's good stories of transfer portals and NILs, and then there's some tough stories. And unfortunately, he had kind of a tough story transferring there, and it just didn't work out. You hate to see it. You really do. Yeah,
but going back to Tennessee for a minute, last thing I got to say, first off, we're going to beat Kentucky. I've said it multiple times. We're going to beat Kentucky Saturday. But
can you believe who didn't have that on their best bet segment coming up?
So somebody's not feeling it. He says it's a rat line, but we'll get to him pretty soon. Jake's set to join the show here shortly, but it's fine. But look, Tennessee is sitting, just like you said, exactly where both of us thought they would be by this point in the season. We thought the losses would be to other teams besides Arkansas, but we thought they would be sitting with one loss going into the Kentucky game, into this final stretch of the season.
We both predicted the win over Alabama, right, in the preseason?
We did.
And Alabama fans came at us like we were crazy. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm really not sorry, but like you just can't expect. If it happens, great, but you just can't expect that there's not any sort of turmoil or drop-off when you're going from one coach to the next. I mean, especially when the one coach was as good as he is. Think about it. You're almost disrespecting the work Nick Saban did if you think another coach can just come in seamlessly and do the exact same thing that he was doing, in my opinion. But either way, Alabama's got a little bit left to go in their schedule. I mean, they got a big game against LSU. And then,
after the bye week.
Obviously, that's kind of tainted a little bit since LSU didn't win against A&M. But anyways, Kentucky in it for a long. I cannot wait till they announce these jerseys and uniforms. Here's a hot take: you think we could checker Neyland in orange and black for the game?
I've seen some people asking about that. I don't know if they'll do it. I really don't.
Blackout?
I can see blackout, yes. I can see that overdoing the orange and black checker. I think that'd be pretty neat if you do a blackout.
I think it would be awesome. But whatever. All right.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on to our next segment, I do want to show you guys something that we've been working on for a little bit, and I've got to give a big shout out to Eric from the OHIO podcast and his guy Garrett for their help in this. We now have a website. It is volfanatics.com. If you go to it, this is the homepage. It'll pull up. You've got some tabs here. You got a football tab, basketball, Lady Vols basketball, baseball, softball, college huddle stuff, podcast. But if you go through there, we already have articles up on the website. We've got our sponsors here. Still working on getting links to the websites for each of these, but you should be able to just click on these. It'll take you directly to that link. We also have links to all of our social media pages right here. But so there are a few bugs that we're still working out. So as you see here, these are all the football articles. We got a couple of basketball articles up here. Lady Vols article. Now, baseball, for some reason, every single article is going directly to baseball as well. That's something we got to get fixed. But baseball articles here, and then softball as well. So go check that out. And we're going to try to have at least one upload daily as far as articles go. Eric has showed me a trick to get articles off of stuff that we talk about during the podcast as well. So really excited about this right here. So go check that out. Again, it is volfanatics.com.
That looks pretty solid. Not even gonna lie. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I love it, man.
I also want to announce, I need to take a moment because this is going to have to get clipped up and sent to a friend of mine. I don't know if y'all have noticed any new additions to the backdrop here. Because
I have.
Maybe if I do this right here, it'll make it a little bit easier for you to see it. Oh, yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is. All right, I want to show everybody. We've got a brand new addition to the backdrop, thanks to MIG, Miss Terry Drummy at Madison. Almost messed up. Madison Insurance Group. There's 2 MIGs in Knoxville. This right here is a beautiful ball. I got to meet the Chris Lofton, had lunch with him, and he took the time to not only just sign the ball to the Vol Fanatics show, massive shout out, but also got to sit down, eat lunch with him, get to talk about not only his days in Knoxville, but also what his career was like in the pros. And now I think he's trying to get into some coaching. I think that's going to be awesome for our guy, legend, VFL, Chris Lofton. Thought that was pretty cool. That is definitely staying forever in the studio room / guy room / kid room, game room, whatever you call it. It's staying here forever. That is awesome. It's not for sale. Will never be for sale. Sorry.
Trust me, I've already asked about it. So
it's not for sale. Sorry. It's pretty sweet. But no, thank you so much to Miss Terry for getting that lunch set up. And when I say lunch, I mean, it was literally like just 6 of us at a round table, chilling, having a conversation. I mean, it was so cool, so awesome. And that'll be a hardcore memory for the rest of my life. So thank you so much. All right. We got some picks to make.
We do. We have some picks to make. But before we do that, our segment 3 sponsor is Kaizen Painting. Do you want a colorful life? Kaizen is a painting and drywall company that provides residential, commercial, exterior, and interior services. At Kaizen Painting, we understand the importance of a beautifully painted home and properly installed and repaired drywall. We're here to bring your vision to life. We care about providing you with a personalized, efficient, and quality service. If you live in Knoxville and surroundings, contact us for a free estimate at KaizenPainting.com. Color your life the Kaizen way. So, without further ado, the Week 10 games start off the slate with Ole Miss going on the road to Arkansas.
It's a solid game right here. This is a solid game right here.
It is. You know what? I'll go first on this one.
You got a good feeling on it?
I do not, but I will go first on it. So, Ole Miss, I'm just going to say it. Ole Miss is a fraudulent team this year. They
just beat Oklahoma by double digits, man. Come on.
But you've also lost to Kentucky. You've also not played a lot of competition outside of conference. Who was their other loss? They lost to LSU. Granted, solid LSU team, but this is a Ole Miss team that had a lot of high expectations going into the season. Arkansas, on the other hand, is a team that had no expectations. I mean, you were expecting to have your coach fired before the end of the season. A team that I think the win total on FanDuel was 4.5 this year, and they surpassed that this past weekend. I think they're sitting 5-2 on the year, 5-3, something along those lines. And they get the game at home but I am going to take Ole Miss to bounce back in this game in a very close game. But I don't have a good feel for it. Arkansas could very well win this game.
Give me Arkansas. I'm going different than you. I loved what I seen from Taylor Green. Ole Miss just doesn't look good. They look okay. They haven't really looked good. They looked great in that first drive offensively. But I guess Oklahoma, obviously Oklahoma does have a decent defense. Don't get me wrong. I still stand by that. But they've got a lot of injuries on that offensive side of the ball, and yet somehow Ole Miss was still letting them kind of run up and down the score, not the scoreboard, but up and down the field quite easily, in my opinion. I think Oklahoma shot themselves in the foot a lot offensively, which kept them out of the end zone. But Taylor Green, Arkansas, if they can protect the ball and not be -2 in the turnover margin, I could see Arkansas absolutely getting a big time win here, and I believe they're at home. So give me Arkansas in this game. I like it.
Yep. So next game, and that game, that game is on 12 Eastern at ESPN. Next game, this one on SEC Network, you've got Vanderbilt traveling to Auburn to take on the Tigers. Auburn coming off a win against Kentucky, and Vanderbilt coming off of a close loss to Texas. You want to go first on this one?
Give me Auburn.
Any field? Any reason why? Just taking Auburn home field?
Hot take. No feel. I just feel like at some point Vanderbilt's not as good as they've been playing. And maybe Auburn found something there in the second half because they beat Kentucky pretty convincingly there in that second half. I don't know. Maybe Kentucky's just really that bad. I just think maybe Auburn has found something in that run game, and maybe they can use that to their advantage against Vanderbilt. Who knows?
I'm going to take Vanderbilt in this game because, they have Diego Pavia.
As a Tennessee fan, I want Vanderbilt to win.
Yeah, look, Auburn, I feel like they're going to have a good day on the ground. I mean, Jarquez Hunter had an absolute monster day against Kentucky yesterday, and I think that he's going to have a good game against Vanderbilt as well. But I just don't know how well Peyton Thorne is going to do against a Vanderbilt defense that, granted, is not great, but they are solid. I mean, you held Texas yesterday to 27 total points. And Texas has got a pretty decent offense overall. They sputtered a little bit here in the middle of the season against Georgia. And then, you had to sputter a little bit at the beginning of that Oklahoma game too. But Vanderbilt's got a solid team overall. And I really do think that Diego Pavia is that X factor. And even though I think Dylan Sampson should also be in the running for this, I think that Diego Pavia is your front runner this year for SEC Player of the Year. I really do.
Okay.
That's
pretty strong, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, just what he's done this year. Other than Dylan Sampson, has there really been another player in the SEC that has just stood out to you that should be SEC Player of the Year? Besides, like I said, besides Dylan Sampson and Diego Pavia, is there any player that has just stood out to that point?
I mean, I guess not, but I'm not looking at a list of players either. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, Diego Pavia wouldn't be that guy that comes up to my mind that stands out either. I mean, yeah, he's gotten one really good win, a couple good wins, but I don't know. I don't think there's been a lot of that many standout players, honestly, in my opinion. Heisman's probably one of the most muddied, races this year than there's ever been because there's just not one of those dudes out there. You can say Colorado and Travis Hunter, yeah, sure, but I mean, even he, only because he plays both sides of the ball. I mean, him offensively or defensively by itself, I don't feel like it's a standout player either. But the fact that he's doing both makes it a little intriguing. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Next game on the slate, it is Maine going up against Oklahoma. This game, Oklahoma fans, it is on SEC Network Plus. You have to have that subscription to be able to watch it. So you made it short and simple there, Oklahoma. I also will take Oklahoma in this one. Game could be closer than you think, though, if they can't get their offense on track.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, should be an easy win for Oklahoma in this matchup. So next one that I have, it is, are they still calling this the world's largest outdoor cocktail party or whatever it used to be? Or is this just Florida, Georgia now?
No, it's still the world's largest. Why wouldn't it not be called the world's largest cocktail party? Come on now.
I don't know. Anyway, Florida going up against Georgia. This is in Jacksonville at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Give me the Dogs. They're just a better team than Florida is.
Yeah, give me Florida outright.
Oh, okay.
Give me Florida outright. I think this rivalry, I think Billy Napier is going to save his job with this game right here. Florida's not a bad team. They just have terrible leadership. Who knows? Maybe they can put it together for this game right here. But give me Florida outright. I don't know why. They had a convincing win. The offense came alive last week. Week before last, they were on a bye yesterday. But no, give me Florida outright, just to kind of muddy up the water even more in the SEC.
All right, so you answered my question. Now, I was going to ask you, is this the win that secures Billy Napier one more year? And
yeah,
I mean,
100%. You beat your rivalry, who's going to be top 2 in the nation. I mean, AP, I think, has them at number 2 right now. So yeah, I mean, 100%.
Look, this would be huge for Florida to get this win because they're sitting now.
The spread's at 16. I mean, so yeah, it's a long shot. But honestly, if you take away stats, you take away roster, you just look at the rivalry and the history, the talent. If you look at roster, if you look at talent on the roster, Florida's not that far behind. DJ Lagway, hot take. I would probably take DJ Lagway over Carson Beck right now, the way he's playing. Carson Beck did not play good against Texas whatsoever. 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. They relied on that defense to put them in great spots in that run game. Don't get me wrong, Carson Beck still threw for some good yardage. But quarterback-wise, I think I like DJ Lagway a little bit more in this matchup, and maybe that gives Florida the edge in this game. I think it should absolutely be a best bet that Florida at least covers because, again, you're basically you just got to be within 16 points, within 2 touchdowns. I don't think Georgia's that world beater of a team that's going to run away with this one. I don't see either team scoring 40 points. I think this could absolutely be a mid-30s to mid-20s type football game. Pretty high scoring, but overall, yeah, this is a hot take. Give me Florida. And I truly believe it. I think Florida can make this a good game.
And, I'm still going to pick Georgia, but now that you say that, this would be a huge game for Florida because we said at the beginning of the year, you need to get at least one win down the stretch in these last few games. Florida is sitting at 4-3 right now on the season.
They're the freshest they're going to be too because they are fresh off a bye week. So if they don't get it right here, you've seen the rest of that schedule.
Yeah, but Georgia is also coming off of a bye week. But which you're looking like a genius at this point because the beginning of the year you said Florida is going to beat Florida State. That's when we thought Florida State was going to be good, and now they're 1-7 or whatever on the season.
They're terrible. They're so bad.
So I think sitting here today, we could safely say Florida should win against Florida State. That is going to be their 5th win. They need one of these last few games to be bowl eligible, and to get a win against Georgia to get bowl eligible. They still play
huge. Georgia. They still play LSU. They still play Florida State. Who is that other team in there in the mix?
They still play Texas and they play Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's a good schedule right there. I mean, yeah, prayers up for Florida. This is their best chance to get another win, probably. And I know that sounds stupid with it coming against Georgia, but maybe Florida State at the end of the year. But yeah.
Well, I think you get a win against Florida State, and I think that Ole Miss game is looking more promising too. But we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
We can be talking about a 7-5/8-4 Florida team.
We could, which I mean, it sounds crazy, but we very well
as
could.
A Tennessee fan, we could use that. We could use that absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I know. Sorry, we went off on a tangent there, but I truly believe Florida can make this a game.
Yeah, fair enough.
And if it happens, I want to be able to say that I chose it.
There you go.
I don't want to just go with the norm and be like, man, that's a great game. No, I want to say that I was right and was confident in it, and I am.
Yeah. All right. So next game on the slate is UMass playing against Mississippi State. This is at 4:15 Eastern on the SEC Network. I will not be watching this game, but give me Mississippi State to win this game.
I agree. Hopefully they can get win number 2 on the season.
Hey, I think this is their best chance to get that next win. All right, so next game after that, it is Texas A&M traveling to Columbia, South Carolina. This is
I couldn't find the line for this. When is it? 7:30?
7:30 Eastern on ABC.
Yeah, I cannot find the line for this game for the life of me.
Yeah, and
it's like that.
It might not have come out yet. I haven't seen it yet either. Let's see.
Yeah, the latest game I have is 7 p.m.
Okay, I've got A&M minus 3.5 on the road.
I've got that.
Go
ahead, choose it because I already told you who I'm choosing.
Yeah, give me Texas A&M to win this game. They showed a lot in that game against LSU last night. But my one question that I have: are they gonna go back to Connor Wegman, or is this
no way?
Is this now? What's his first name? I know Reed's his last name. Marcel Reed. Is this his team now?
It's got to be Marcel Reed's team. I mean, they went 4 for 4, maybe even 5 for 5 after he came in. As far as touchdowns to drives ratio. Yeah, there's no way. Marcel Reed's not the guy. I'm gonna go against the norm here again. Because I think this is a chaos weekend. After a weekend of no chaos, I'm asking for all the chaos. Give me South Carolina, especially if Lenore Sailors is healthy. Give me South Carolina to spoil the A&M season, perfect SEC season, and hand them their first conference loss after such a big win at home. They're now traveling to Columbia, South Carolina at night. Very underrated home field advantage there in Columbia, South Carolina. Give me the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I do think Lenore Sellers being healthy is the X factor for that upset to happen.
Sure.
All right.
They have a good defense though.
They do. They have a very good defense.
Yeah.
So yeah,
better than LSU's.
Very true. All right, last game on the slate. This won't take us long. It is Kentucky traveling to Knoxville to play against Tennessee.
I thought the game was over already.
It is. It already is. Tennessee by as many as they choose in this game.
Yeah, they're covering, and that's the best bet.
Should be a best bet. Sorry.
Yeah, Tennessee covers.
Yep. All right, so that is the pick segment. We have one more thing to do before we get to our ranking with Jake. It is upset pick of the week time, and
I'm doubling down on the Florida pick. Give me Florida over Georgia. That is a massive one. It's going to move the needle. And if it happens, boy, that should be like an extra 5 points because nobody is choosing Florida this week. So give me Florida over Georgia. 16.5 point underdog, by the way. 16.5. Give me Florida.
All right, so I am looking here because I did not do my homework.
Uh-oh. See, I felt good about this one. I didn't even have to do homework on it, honestly. I just wanted to see how big of an underdog they were.
Yeah, 16.5. That's a good one there.
If anything, I hope they cover.
Let's see. This makes for bad podcasts. All right, so because I'm not going to choose a mid-major game like you accused.
Attaboy! We're going to choose a real game that people are going to watch?
Yeah.
You know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? It means it's not been working for him. He's been choosing these garbage games, and he's still not been doing anything with it. That's unfortunate. Hate to see it.
Who's still in the lead, though?
Only because you see my picks, dog. Like, come on.
All right, but I am not going with a 5-point play. I am going with Pittsburgh. They are
scared.
Well, I mean, there's no other game that I like.
Yeah. All right, Pittsburgh over.
Pittsburgh over SMU. They are a 7.5-point dog on the road to SMU. Pittsburgh undefeated on the year so far.
Yeah, do you think Pittsburgh gets another 4 pick sixes in this game, or is that?
No, they just beat SMU straight up in this game.
Oh, okay.
That was just Kyle McCord, former Ohio State quarterback, by the way. Kyle McCord.
What a day.
He just
for 4 touchdowns. just to the wrong team.
Yeah. Through what? 6 total interceptions or 5, something like that. I mean,
5 or 6 total, and 4 of them were in the first half.
I think he was seeing blue in that game instead of seeing orange. So.
How does a coach not at least set the guy for a series or 2 just to let him reset? He didn't. He tried to play through it, and you seen what happened. I think they got blanked. It was terrible. It was terrible football. But yeah, all right, Pitt over whoever they're playing, and that's not a 5-point play. That's unfortunate. Whatever, it's fine.
I mean,
fine. Be scared. All right, let's get it on, dude. We got some picks.
Yep, we do. So before we get to Jake, do you want to give our Breaking with Jake sponsor?
You already know it. Let me get right to it real quick because I actually accidentally canceled out of it. But we got it right here. It is Reed Bryant, State Farm. Whether you are looking for auto, home, renters, or life insurance, Reed Bryant provides you with personalized coverage options that fit your unique requirements. Their team is always available to answer any questions you may have and assist you in finding the perfect insurance solutions. At Reed Bryant State Farm, they understand the importance of safeguarding what matters most to you so you can focus on enjoying the game without worrying about unexpected events. To reach out to Jake directly, you can reach out to him by email at Jake, Jake, at easttninsurance.com or give their office a call at 865-457-1505. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right. Then, that wasn't in the actual jingle. Like, I just put it in there. But anyways, we got Jake there, Breaking with Jake. Jake Arnold, how we doing?
Guys, we're
sorry
doing
to make
great.
you wait so long. You were in there for like 20 minutes. I'm sorry. Maybe even longer.
Dude, I'm just listening. Honestly, I got to watch a little bit of ball. So bye week is my favorite time because it lets you recalibrate what's really going on in the landscape.
Sure.
That being said, I think I might just have gone off the walls this week after going 3-2. Really, really thinking. I mean, I'm getting 2.5 out of 3. I'm looking at my numbers. It's not bad numbers, but it's getting bad.
Well, I mean, we're kind of on a downhill trajectory, honestly. Even though we're winning, it's not. We don't have that momentum that we had in the first 3 weeks.
Again, myself, it's kind of funny the amount of times that I'll put these bets out there and I don't bet on them myself. And I really should not go back and look if I just did what I should do and do the $5 deal. But at the end of the day, it happens. And I honestly, I think there's a lot of things that showed this week that I was glad showed. So in recap, out of the last 2, the ones that I got wrong was Illinois at Oregon. And so that was one that one I tried to recalibrate on. And really it was one turnover away. You're one turnover away from that happening and covering, So Oregon, they're overrated. In my opinion, I think they're good. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they're dynamic, but I don't necessarily believe that Dylan Gabriel is the end-all be-all that people believe he is right now. So all that being said, Texas A&M. Question for y'all: do you think Texas A&M's quarterback Marcel Reed has a appropriate path to the Heisman race?
No. He just because he doesn't have the I guess the
tenure.
Yeah, the tenure, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for.
And that's just a hard overreaction to a game, in my opinion. Like to come out and immediately.
This kid's from NBA, man. He's a cat.
I mean, I get that, but to think that kind of performance is reputable.
The thing that Mike Elko does, and I didn't realize this, and this is something I studied kind of pretty hard. Mike Elko is a run genius. He is a run genius. That is what he does. And honestly, we talked about it from the start of the season, and this is just speculation, but this is kind of trying to use what I've seen happen in these coaches' meetings and how they kind of maneuver through getting strategy out. It's the same thing with how do you tell people to do the point of attack. What was a good example of that, I think, was the Oklahoma Ole Miss game. We had 3 fumbles and 2 plays. That's disruptive football. We're calling it disruptive football now. And so there's a way to teach a disruptive technique and a point of attack, almost like a golf approach that you can use in order to do what you need to do at this point. And so I think that what's gone on in the landscape of football is everybody's playing poker now. I truly believe there's just too much access to information. I think we all know everybody's keys at this point. So we've adjusted and we're really leaning on pass efficiency now. So obviously, if you want to be a team that can win the Natty, you have to be able to establish the run. There's no question on that. But pass efficiency is huge. It's not how many passing yards you're getting. It's about what are you doing when you're passing it, when you're completing it, when you don't complete it. Are they necessary downs? Are they dire downs? So there's a lot going on with it. But in regards to all of that I've seen, I think Texas A&M really shed some light on how you can use some really, really stretched quarterback draws. That quarterback draw that they used with him, they said it was designed. I'm wondering if you could RPO out of that just with the footwork and the way that they teach it. And that's so creative to think about. And that's something that I guess, not being able to focus on offense my entire life, I hadn't thought about. But these offensive coaches are gurus, man. They are absolute gurus. They're finding new ways to do it. So going into the picks, man, I really think that the Texas A&M thing was just Nussmeier. I have a couple of select words for two individuals in LSU's program. It is Brian Kelly and Nussmeier.
I tried to tell you.
And again, we talk about pass efficiency and we forget he has Lacey and he has that number 3, number 1. All those Louisiana dudes are just sticking dudes. They're getting yards after the carry. He's making him feather his numbers, and so I didn't realize how baited he would get. Bates, 20 from Texas A&M. I can already tell you, I don't know what year he is. It's my first time really watching him. He's good. He is. I mean, stellar. That's a guy who will play a long time in the league if he doesn't have any injury. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He's a boundary nickel. Could play him at corner. Kind of like him to bump and run. He seems to be very key on ball sense, on how to play flat and also play kind of a quarter and small zone space. So it's just weird stuff that he's able to do that ended up letting him pick him off twice. So just an absolute stud. And so getting into the picks, I'll kind of go into the efficiency side of things because it really starts with Indiana at Michigan State. I think this one is my most confident pick without question. I think that this is a no-brainer. I guess they're going with 6.5 and not 11.5 because it's at Michigan State. Michigan State played a did they? I don't.
That's the thing. They played a competitive game against Michigan, and so that's why I feel like this spread is a little bit closer than what it is. But shout out to our boy Taven Jackson. He stepped right up to the plate and played really good for Indiana yesterday. And I think I'm with you. I like this pick a lot. I bet it as soon as I seen it because I knew if I felt it, and then you felt the same way. I feel really good about this one.
Yeah, I'm very confident in this pick as well.
Undefeated Indiana right now.
I love what Indiana has done this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Indiana was not good. That's another team. Sorry to cut you out. That's another team this year that is completely undefeated. It seems like just within one offseason because like last year, Indiana was not good. I mean, they weren't really great at all, but they made a couple of changes. I think a new offensive coordinator, and now you see what's happening there at Indiana. It's pretty special.
And what's their coach's name? He's the guy that came from James Madison that just put them on the map.
Who is he?
He's all over social media right now. He came on with Pat McAfee this week. But, Indiana, a team, the only FBS team this year that has not trailed so far in a game. That is insane.
Wow.
Seriously? We are 8 games in, and they have yet to trail in a game this year so far.
Okay, so I'm looking at his background right now. 2-year letterman at West Virginia. He was a quarterback. Coached at Elon, I believe, prior to James Madison. So James Madison, man, they're very famous for their run defense. So they just stop the run. They've always been a team that believes in that kind of premise and that standard framework philosophy of you got to be able to attack the line of scrimmage and win the line of scrimmage. And so another thing that kind of stuck out to me is Elon at one point was getting tapped with a lot of really good recruits. That's hard to do, man. There's only a select few amount of guys out there in the world that you can just sit there and be like, yeah, we know what he is. We just know what he is. And I hate to say it, but if people worked hard enough, they'll understand that there is a place for high school guys, JUCO guys, guys who have only played football 1 year to get to be able to play ball. It just takes development. So, all that to be said, Michigan State, they're bringing nothing to the table. Indiana's number 2 in scoring offense. No team's kept it within one possession with them all season. They're number 7 in scoring defense. So they're playing disruptive football. I'm going to use that one again. And they're 3 in passing efficiency. For reference, LSU right now, they're 45. They're middle of the pack. Tennessee's a little bit higher. They're at 42. And then Vandy is at 23. And I think that heavily leans on what Vanderbilt's able to do with Pavia or whatever his name is. He's good. I didn't quite tip my hat as much as I should have to him, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Michigan State, they're 114th of 133 teams in scoring offense. They cannot get the ball in the end zone. So it's cold up north. Indiana, it might make it harder to throw, but they're so used to it week in and week out. Who cares? This is every day. I think that they'll be fine. I think that this game will be pretty easy. If I had to guess, I'll say it'll be 31. This is just a guess. 31 to 7. So
wow, yeah.
I just don't see it hanging. There's nothing there that Michigan State has shown me that they played for outside of their rivalry in state. So.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah.
What about your next pick?
Dude, it goes back to what people are trying to do to make great offenses. So South Florida at Florida Atlantic, -2.5 for South Florida. There's a difference between a team that's 3-4 that's scoring 25 points per game against Alabama, Miami, Memphis, Tulane. That's their best 4. And looking at a team like Florida Atlantic, who hasn't won a conference game, they're scoring like half a point less, a little bit 6 points less per game, but they've played Army, UConn, UTEP, and guess what? Michigan State. So it's all lining up to where I'm really putting a high stock into teams that I think are undervalued or overvalued. I think Michigan State again is just getting such a home field kiss of death. That it's going to really hurt at times. But South Florida, what they've done, they're 3-4. They're still scoring on teams like Alabama, Miami, Memphis. These are guys that are still kind of boxing around trying to compete for relevancy, and that just goes to the head coaching. Golesh, what he's doing is he's trying to make sure that he elevates and shows and gives confidence to these kids that, hey, one-on-one matchups, we've got guys, we're in positions as coaches to put you and get scoring. It may not happen every single play. It may not happen every single quarter. But at the end of the day, you're going to still be an opportunity to play. So that one to me just, again, feels like a no-brainer. It's a weird game. I didn't really look much into the stats of it, but I do know conceptually what Florida Atlantic is feeling. Florida Atlantic, it's not a tough place to play, but it can get rowdy. So the only thing I fear on this one is just undisciplined football. That's the only thing you see is a bunch of penalties going on and everybody, shoving each other. That's the kind of game this might turn into. So
does it concern you any, the fighting that we saw on the South Florida sideline against UAB, the fact that some of the players are fighting each other on their own team?
No, absolutely not. Not actually not at all. That if anything, I want a player to really get in another player's face. At some point you have to have a conversation man to man and say, what are you doing to help us? What value are you bringing? And so that's a kind of conversation that has to be had, I think, in times of passion, because it emphasizes why championship teams are great. They're able to push through adversity, and they're able to understand that there are things that happen outside of their control. There's 22 people on a football field, every single play, sometimes more, sometimes less. That's how crazy the game gets. So that's the kind of thing you look at, but that's why I get into this third pick, which I am shocked that Penn State is not favored against Ohio State. That is just crazy.
How are you shocked? They just lost their quarterback.
Yeah, and the other guy came in and he was 11 for 13, 98 yards rushing, and then he had 6
against a Wisconsin team that lost by 35 to Alabama.
Okay, I mean, do you think that?
I mean, yeah, I get it.
The front end, that's transitive. I think.
I mean,
Alabama
no, I
is a
get
lot
you. I
better
get you. I'm
team
just
week
we're
1
talking
than
about overranked teams here, and I feel like Penn State is highly
okay. So
overrated.
I want you to forget the Wisconsin-Alabama game.
Sure.
Forget that ever happened, because who was playing later in the season? So think about what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have a team like Wisconsin that's already kind of pushed out, and you've got teams that are already playing the same year right now, because we got bowl games, New Year's Six, things of that nature. So it's a month or two of just being in football mindset and condition for some of these guys. You're seeing it week 8, man. LSU and A&M, they that game was crazy. That game was crazy. I turned it off. I was so mad about it because I picked LSU, obviously, but it was absolutely just insanity, and what Elko's doing there is insane. But Ohio State, you look at Oregon, you look at what they've done against Nebraska. I mean, that's 2 hard games you've just played back to back, and it's hard with only having 2 weeks and no bye, especially looking at Arkansas. We kind of just waltzed into Arkansas. Yeah, we'll be fine, but gosh, this is tiring. So Penn State's undefeated. They're undefeated, and
they're undefeated. You're
right.
Importantly,
but more importantly, Ohio State's defeated. They have one. They got one lost, and I don't think Oregon's that good.
I mean, I get. Then you're saying Ohio State's not that good.
I am,
and you're saying, look, Penn State overtime game against USC. Then they had a bye week. And then they come out against Wisconsin and needed a fourth quarter to really make that game look like it was better than what it was.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but again, I truly think Wisconsin's a team that very soonly will be a top 10 team. I think that they'll consistently be top 10 here in a year or two. So
yeah, Luke Fickell does. He's made major improvement. I mean, we're talking about a Wisconsin team that has been literally a losing record program last several years, and so. I agree with you, Hunter. I'm not contradicting you whatsoever.
I love it.
I'm just trying to understand. I didn't know if you were trying to be like Big Ten homerish here, because I'm telling you, they're getting very. I mean, we're gonna see it. Obviously, Ohio State, Penn State. We're gonna see the clash of the Titans of the Big Ten here coming up. But I just don't think either one of the teams have really been that outstanding. To your point, Ohio State's lost to Oregon, and you even think Oregon's not that great. So what are we really going to see here out of Penn State? Because I don't feel like Penn State's really that special either. But obviously a team's got to win. But what is that win really going to mean for them? Now, obviously in the national perspective, it's guaranteed shot in the playoff. They're in. It doesn't matter. They probably are guaranteed spot in the Big Ten championship, which is fine. But I am really intrigued. I think if you're a Tennessee fan, who do you want to win this game?
You want Penn State to win, probably.
I agree.
Because that would probably knock Ohio State out.
It would knock Ohio State out.
Yeah. But look, I've got an argument both ways here. I think Ohio State is a solid team with an average at best quarterback. And I think that is what hurts them. Will Howard, their quarterback, I think you can have better there. You've got a fantastic wide receiver in Jeremiah Smith. And then Emeka Egbuka, I think is how you say his name. He's very good as well. He's a seasoned guy. And then they've got a really solid defense overall. But as I said, just an average at best quarterback. And quarterback play is what wins you a lot of things.
Premium.
My thing about Penn State, it is proven James Franklin does not win the games that they're not favored in. That's what scares me about this game is the fact that they come out as a 3.5-point underdog in this game. I think he's got an overall record of 1 and then however many losses against teams that he is an underdog against.
Yeah, Michigan. It's mainly. I think you were taught. I know the stat you're trying to reference. I believe. I think that stat was correlating to Michigan and Ohio State in tandem.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I think quarterback play is at a premium right now. The teams that'll win the Natty or the teams that will be in contention for the Natty have to have premium quarterback play. There's no other way around it. That LSU A&M game at some point did feel like a college football playoff game. That was a caliber game that you would see. That's what this has become. Is just an absolute madness gauntlet. that feels like it's the NFL. You just don't know who can win or lose week in and week out.
I guess my biggest, like, the reason why I'm so salty about Penn State, and you want to guess how many ranked teams are going to play this season in the regular season?
Three?
2.
That's close. That's not their fault,
No, it's not their fault. And the obviously Ohio State. The second one is Illinois, who's no longer ranked either. I just if any team, literally the top 10 of the SEC, has a schedule like that, I just don't feel like it's worth as much. I mean, seriously, here's how strong of a take I'm saying. If Penn State loses to Ohio State, I think they shouldn't even be in the playoff. If they can't make the Big Ten championship, I just don't feel like they have a resume worth putting them in as an 11-1 team. I mean, they're going to get in. Every 11-1 team in the nation is probably going to get in. But
any 11-1 Power 5 would get in.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's rewarding a team for playing cupcakes. Like, they don't have a convincing win on their schedule. I mean, maybe Illinois.
And going back, I was looking at the Florida strength of schedule because y'all were talking about Florida, Georgia. I didn't even rationalize it because it's like, it's Georgia, but Carson Beck's not good, and that's what
you're agreeing with me.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good.
That's what I'm saying.
And I kind of feel for him because I think that he could be a lot better in a different offense.
I'm telling you.
So I think he's more of a true spread offense kind of guy. I think he's somebody that Graham Mertz is like, where he can just kind of slink it around and dot it because he's probably some type of baseball. I bet he played high school baseball.
Sure.
But it's just one of those things where I don't understand how they have him so hyper valued. DJ Lagway absolutely would have him over Carson Beck all day. Lagway's dynamic. Lagway is figuring himself out, but my gosh, man. I mean, it's hilarious to me the amount of quarterback play we have. It's very little right now in the whole scope of it, but it's all in the SEC. It's all in the SEC.
So let's go to your next pick because this is where I feel like quarterback play absolutely plays a part in it. Vanderbilt money line here.
Yeah.
I trust Diego Pavia a whole lot more than I do Peyton Thorne.
I agree with that.
Dude, did you?
I know I didn't choose that, but I agree with that.
Did y'all watch the Texas game?
I did.
Okay.
Hang on. Hot take before you get Texas played so conservative, and honestly, they probably should have lost the game because of how conservative they went with a 2-touchdown lead. And I don't agree with it whatsoever. I could have swore that Texas could have won this by double digits if they really wanted to, but I got to credit Vanderbilt.
It's a quality win. It is a quality win for Texas. And that's the thing that you got to look at it as and nothing else. It's not like it's a great hard place to play. I mean, we all know that it can lull you to sleep. It might be kind of a weird place to play. But they barely lost to Texas despite 18 consecutive passes completed by Quinn Ewers and getting 288 yards in the air. I mean, whatever his name is, Diego, he's 13-3, but he got picked off twice, yesterday. So I mean, going into the game, he was just fine.
So that last pick that he threw, that was all on him. Should have never thrown the ball. Honestly, I would have rather taken the sack there than just throw it up. I mean, either way, Texas was going to get the ball. And I guess technically you could say, well, the sack would have been worse field position than where they ended up taking over after the pick. But, I mean, still, as a quarterback, you just can't throw that ball. Because, what if he does take it back for a pick six and then the game really is over? Give your defense a chance. But that first one that he threw in the game, that was just – the defender got his hand up, batted it up right after Vanderbilt had done the same thing, batted up a Quinn Ewers pass that was intercepted. But he's still he played his butt off in that game. Vanderbilt has surprised me this year. And if you watched this last year, I was high on Vanderbilt going into the season last year because of what Clark Lee had showed me the season before. But last year they had the down year. So this year I was down on them going in, and this is the year I thought they were going to have last year. This is a team that Clark Lee he's taken over and he's made the changes that he needs to. He's looked at himself and realized, hey, if we're going to have success, I've got to make some changes, and he has done that. And Vanderbilt is showing that they're they're honestly a force to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah. They could very well beat Tennessee, and that's a scary thought to have as a Tennessee fan.
Vanderbilt is the team that worries me the most.
I'm gonna disagree hard, but I do not think you can overlook them like you can in the past. I think Tennessee's run game is better than Texas, is better than Alabama, and for that reason, and their defense is 100% better than both those teams, to where I think we could still squeeze a win out against Vanderbilt and not have Nico's best game. But I agree. You can't overlook this team, but I seriously think that Tennessee still wins this game. Down the road, obviously. But
yeah. I mean, I agree. I think they should. There should be no issue with Vanderbilt.
Not.
There is more problems for Vanderbilt playing Tennessee than there is Tennessee playing Vanderbilt, if that makes sense. And it doesn't just come to talent; it comes to the feeling that you get playing Big Brother. What you're coming to see with the University of Tennessee and not just a private institution. But again, with private institute, I think Clark Lee, he has a strategic operation going on down there, man. Sure. I mean, you could do some really cool things with Vanderbilt if you think about it. And so I think that it's just one of those things where you kind of have to weigh on it, keep it grounded, but know that Vanderbilt's not here to play around. They're going to absolutely take care of Auburn. This game is at 11 o'clock in the morning. I can guarantee you Vanderbilt is playing for more than Auburn. And Auburn, Jordan-Hare is not what it used to be. It used to be somewhere, I think, before I got into coaching, from what all I heard, somewhere that you would be excited or envious to play at, or maybe even be a little intimidated, because it's just such a beautiful place. But man, it's really died down. It's not been what it is. And I see Vanderbilt winning big on that one.
Hugh Freeze coaching tenure ended when the only reason why he coached at Auburn was to coach against Nick Saban. So when Nick Saban retired, Hugh Freeze, I think his whole motivation factor just left the yard. I mean, I could see Hugh Freeze not taking another coaching job after this. Like, I'm dead serious. Like,
that would be a kiss of death for Auburn.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to think about because it's Auburn. But
it just almost doesn't have the same meaning as it did. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. There's one more that you've got. There's one more pick that you've got. What is it?
Dude, Pittsburgh's undefeated. They're undefeated. They're still in contention for the ACC championship,
which is god-awful.
Hey, Clemson still wins that, by the way.
No, I mean, if we want to talk about overrated, Miami being a top 5 team is an absolute joke.
So you're seeing it now. So I'm just making sure that you're
knew this.
I've been seeing this since the Virginia Tech game.
Dude, I knew this. Don't act like I didn't. Like, this is an absolute joke of a Miami team.
They got Papa Cam out there slinging the rock.
Oh my goodness, hang on, hold up. No, I gotta call this out, because the last 3 games up until Florida State, I've got to look at these scores. They've been insanely lucky. And I'm going to say lucky, not good. Where is the Seymour games?
Look, Miami will lose one of their remaining games on the schedule. I looked it up yesterday who they had left. They will lose at least one of the next 4 games. They play.
I got you right here. Ever since the Virginia Tech debacle, however you want to go about that, where they won 38-34. They then played Cal, and they beat them by 1 point, 39-38. Then they played Louisville and beat them by a touchdown, which was very questionable if you watch the fourth quarter, 52-49. And then obviously they did get a convincing win over Florida State, but in a game where it was a boring game. I tried to watch it. It was just a bunch of blah. There's no way I can look at that team, albeit they're undefeated. Sure. That is not a top 5 team in the country. And honestly, I don't even know if they're a top 10 team in the country.
Who are you talking about, Miami or Pittsburgh?
Miami, sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about Miami at this point.
We were talking about the ACC after we did Pittsburgh, because I was talking about how big of a joke. But yeah, sorry.
No. Look, Pittsburgh, they're going to get it done.
Pittsburgh might win the ACC.
It's either going to be Pittsburgh or it's going to be Clemson. It won't be Miami.
I'll put my money on Pittsburgh and Clemson before I put my money on Miami.
Dude, y'all want to hear a crazy take that's gonna? How many people are watching this? I think I might offend
Like
Dave
2.
also
You're
if I say
fine.
it.
You can say whatever.
Okay, this is 2022 Tennessee. That's Miami right now. They've got just enough to make it a little bit overproduct. Like they're getting a lot of production out on the field. I mean, that's all it is. I'm not saying they're exact. Now it sounds crazy, but that's what's going to end up happening is they're going to kind of fizz off in the back end just purely based off of depth.
Yeah, look, Miami's last 4 games of the season, they played Duke at home this weekend. I was going to say that's going to be a close game that Duke could pull out. This next game is the one that I think it will happen though.
They'll lose that one too.
Georgia Tech at home, Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech is where that game is. I think that they lose that game to Georgia Tech. Then you got Wake Forest at home after a bye week, and you end the season against Syracuse on the road.
Where is their signature win?
Yeah,
Florida, the first week.
There's not one. Look, they do. All right, you want to talk about Penn State not having a ranked win on the season? Miami does not have a ranked win and will not have a ranked win on the season.
But yet they will be in the playoff.
But look, you played Florida, then you played Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, California, Louisville, who was reeling by the time you played them, out of the top 25, a terrible Florida State team. Duke is right there on the edge, but they're not ranked.
They didn't even cover against Florida State. I mean,
against a terrible Florida State team, they didn't cover. Yet Duke, that might be the best chance for Miami to get beat.
I just don't understand how that is the flaw in this playoff system.
Yeah,
is you're rewarding teams that play nobody.
So we talked about every 11-1 Power 5 team will make the playoffs. I don't think you can sit here and tell me today that an 11-1 Miami team makes the playoffs based off of that schedule.
You got to. It's body of work.
Every 11-1, every 11-1 team is going to be. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of people that don't know football that are making decisions and are going to take the top. They're going to take the top record. And once you get down to 10-2 teams, if there's like 3 spots left and they have to choose 10-2 teams, that's when they may look into like the body of work a little bit more. But if you're 11-1, you're guaranteed in. It doesn't matter. Like it's so dumb. It's so dumb. This Miami team is terrible.
You want to lose early.
Yeah. Look at Clemson. They're about to be back in the top 10. They might be back in the top 10 after losing to Georgia ugly. But what have they done? Beat a bunch of nobodies to get back to freaking 7-1, and now they're in the top 10 again.
But in Clemson's defense, they hadn't just beat teams; they've destroyed teams since that game against Georgia.
NC State. I mean, they've done this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get it. It's just they're performing at a high level. It's like they can't control who they have line up against them.
Sure,
it's not like Kate Klubnik can sit there and do it. But I'm telling you, man, I think Clemson's good.
I just feel like it's going to be the death of the SEC at some point down the road. Is teams are going to find out I don't want to be in the best conference because it's a lose-lose situation other than money, guaranteed money per season, per capita, whatever. Your team, you're basically becoming a Kentucky. If you join a big conference, your good year, you're 8-4. Congratulations, you go to a bowl game. No, I would rather be 12-0 or 11-1 in a god-awful conference, and you're the team going to the playoff every year. And because of that national exposure, you're going to be making that money back that you otherwise wouldn't be making, in a lesser conference. It's going to be. Yeah. Sorry. I just went off on a long.
No, you're right. I agree. I think that you're going to see some consolidation of a conference. And if you're going to want to do something to the effect of compete with the SEC, you're going to have to use the vehicle of the Big Ten, or really it's just the Big Ten is the only one I can see right now that you could say, we're going to find more creative ways to get guys paid or get guys to want to come to our universities and our conferences. So conferences and schools even have to have those types of conversations too. And it's I can't imagine, but that's, It's a wild landscape. It is anybody's ball game this year.
Sure.
100%. Anybody. I truly don't believe Georgia's the best team in the country, and I also truly don't believe that Oregon's the best team in the country. And I also truly don't
who's your best team in the country?
There's not one. There's not one right now.
Not one. There's not one. There about 7-8 teams right now. I think that could win it all. And I think that's what you've got.
Yeah, I've
never seen this. I mean, you usually know, and then you either have some type of madness upset from someone. This is the time where you would think you'd have a clear one.
The only year that I can remember being remotely like this was 07. 07, it was just madness all year long.
Didn't LSU win it with 2 losses back then?
Yes. Yeah, that was the year that South Florida reached number 2 in the nation, undefeated before they got upset. Yeah, I guess upset by a team in their conference. I mean, you had 1 and 2s every single week just get knocked off. And it ended with LSU winning the whole thing with 2 losses. Tennessee made the SEC championship that year with 3 losses.
Wow.
Yep, that's it. I'm rewatching the 2007 season.
Yeah. I have to. That is insane.
Everything about
every game for every team.
Yeah,
I watched the whole 2007 year.
Yeah, I forget where the YouTube video is, but there's a YouTube video that goes back and like recaps the entire 2007 season. It's insane. Definitely watch it. But
anyway. So out of the ones that you've called, with the hotline, if you want me to take it over, guys, please bet responsibly. I mean, we have no reason to try to bet anything more outside of our means. If you need help, call this hotline. It's super simple. They're going to walk you through it. Their people have all their vices. So it's one of those things where you got to just make sure that you're asking for help from others. So it's right here. It's 1-800-889-9789. One more time, 1-800-889-9789. But guys, I after that, who's the 8 teams? I have to know, because I think you can definitely say without question there are 4 teams that come to the top of your head, and you have to omit Ohio State just because of recent performance. You're going to tell me it's Georgia, it's Texas. You're going to say it's Oregon, and then you're going to say it's, depending on Penn State, Ohio State, I guess is your 4.
I mean, you just go ahead and put in the other team, though, like whoever's not that one.
Then
they're going to be in.
You
Clemson, Tennessee.
talking about ones that we think can win it all?
Yeah, because there's literally, I saw it, and I can't argue against it.
Yeah, it's Oregon, it's Texas, it's Georgia, either Ohio State or Penn State, whichever one. Tennessee, Clemson.
Texas A&M could win it all.
Yes, Texas A&M. And there's one more.
Want a hot take? Alabama could still win it all.
Absolutely not.
No
chance. No.
LSU is beating Alabama next week after the bye week.
And if that happens, then they're out. But as of right now, if they win out, you're getting in. If they win out, they're getting in.
Losses to the state of Tennessee.
Don't care. They're still getting in.
No. It's just funny to think about. It's
absolutely. And they're lucky they don't play Memphis. And they're lucky they don't play Memphis. But
hey, if we disrespecting ETSU like that,
and Austin Peay, honestly. But either way, like I just think that if Alabama wins out, they're getting in. And I wouldn't want to play Alabama again. I'm telling you that right now.
I don't disagree.
I look at teams that who would I want to face? Alabama's not one of them. I don't want to play them again. I would want to play Clemson because I don't care what they're doing against a mid ACC conference. I don't care. I don't. I would play Iowa State because who are their signature wins? Iowa?
Is Iowa State still in contention?
Yes, they're undefeated. Ranked number 11.
All right, so that was going to be my next question. Is there any Big 12 team that we think can win the whole thing? The only one that I would even put in there would be BYU, but I don't think they can win it all. I think they're good.
In a crazy world, they could. I think that they'll make the playoffs. I don't think that they will win it all. I don't believe that they can make it out of that gauntlet. There's Man, the best team equipped to me is
I think-
Texas A&M.
Yeah,
I
I
know
think
that's
I
crazy,
think the
but-
lowest I would go as far as rankings, AP rankings, the lowest I'm going, because I don't even think Boise State's that team. I'm going Alabama's lowest at 14th. There's no way a team ranked below 14 right now going into week 10 has a chance to win it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a chance to win it because obviously there may be some teams that can make the playoff outside of that right now. But as of right now, at that point, you have Indiana at 8-0, which Justin just brought up. You have Iowa State at 7-0, ranked 13th and 11th. I guess they're tied at 11th. I didn't realize you could do that, but all right. Clemson and Iowa State are tied at 11th. Texas A&M 7-1. They're in the top 10. Then you got BYU at 8-0 at 9. Notre Dame, no shot.
Notre Dame can't win it. They can't.
No
win
shot.
It. Not this.
They're
year.
going to make it because of their name.
It's
No
your
shot.
quarterback. You have to have a quarterback.
And
You
he
have to
can't
have a
throw it. He
quarterback.
can run it. He can't throw it. And he can throw it here and there, but I just don't. I don't trust him. Tennessee at 6-1. And I think Tennessee's in the perfect spot at 7th. I don't think they should be a dime up. I don't think they should be really any lower.
Off of the way they categorize it.
I
Absolutely.
mean, maybe I could throw them above Texas just because, again,
if you do
Texas's
power rankings-
signature wins are not looking great now that Michigan's kind of maybe.
I mean, if you look at power rankings and you just look at what's the worst loss, I mean, and you try to just say results matter, you're probably saying that Clemson's number 1 because they have the best loss.
I wouldn't go number 1. I mean, you still got
Oregon.
undefeated. Penn State.
I would. All right, I wouldn't go number 1 because if you're going to say that, then Texas has got the best loss.
Who did they lose to?
Georgia.
1, 2.
It's beside Clemson.
No, Clemson would still have the best loss. They lost to number 1 ranked Georgia.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
So
anyway, we can talk all day about this, man.
Yeah, it's a crazy logic. It just blows my mind that it's literally plug and chug. It's like, okay, on to the next week. You just better hope that you land. Like that's what it really is. I think they do it right by trying to get it towards the last couple of weeks doing the real playoff rankings because that does let you kind of rebalance. So, but man, it's a wild season.
Hear me out. Army is still undefeated.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a season.
Yeah. But hey,
this is wild.
Welcome to another episode of the Vol Fanatic Show. We appreciate you tuning in. And no, you want to wrap it up though, for real?
Yeah, let's do it. But Jay, we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another great week. 3-2 last week. Let's go 5-0 this week, man.
Oh man, absolutely. We need it. We need it.
Yeah. All right, we'll see, man. But yeah, that was Raking with Jake, and this episode went just a tad longer than we expected to. But
I'm starting to blame Jake. I mean, I don't know why he feels like he can just come on here and start just acting like a third host in the show. Like, I mean, we're gonna have to get back to the basics, brother. Like, you're here for the picks, and no, I'm joking. We enjoy his time, and we really enjoy his insight. And I mean, I feel like he fits right in with the show, so it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, like I said earlier, go check out volfanatics.com. Like I said, a few bugs that we need to fix on there, but a lot of great content going to be coming out soon on there. Be sure to check out all social medias. A big shout out to Skylar this week for getting all of those Facebook followers. Still don't know how you did it other than just inviting people, man. But
turns out if you take them to Top Golf, they'll do whatever you want. No.
Hey, that's one way to do it. But guys, appreciate you tuning in this week. Skylar, you got any closing remarks?
Yeah, Texas, Justin, Texas fan. I want to clear the air. He's bringing up the point that Texas would still, he lost to Georgia too. The difference is, and what I think we're trying to make here is, Georgia wasn't ranked number 1 when Texas lost to Georgia. Correct? I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Georgia was ranked
like 5, I think.
Yeah, they were low because Texas was above them. So technically, even though you lost the same teams, and we're talking about Clemson here versus Texas losing, both lost to Georgia. We're saying that the best losses and what was the team ranked when you lost to them. That's the only difference there. He does say that he loves Jake. No homo, though. He didn't say that, so it might be. But anyways, we're going to wrap this thing up, brother. It's Kentucky Hate Week. I'm hoping we go dark mode.
I'm hoping we wear the orange lids with the dark mode. I've not got any insight information on that. I just think it'd be freaking sweet to bring it back against Kentucky. But, man, I'm really excited about this weekend. I'm really excited to hate on little brother. I mean, that's Kentucky is, and that is a loss to Tennessee and Neyland. It's going to happen. Cannot wait for it. It's going to be a good weekend.
Yep, that's right. Go Big Orange, guys.
Go Big Orange.